So on this channel, I talk a lot about HR career growth because I think it's really important that as you're navigating your career, you know that there's a way to do it. And just because you're by yourself does not mean that you're in it alone. So tonight, I am sharing 4 reasons why you want to make sure you avoid trying to be perfect and trying to do everything on your own, to be so like a machine, and why it's more important to be more focused on excellence. So in my signature framework, I have the 4 E's of HR career success. The 4 E's are education, because you got to have the education. You have to know what you're supposed to do. That's foundational. But some people stop there. The second E is experience. So when you're doing your work, you have to make sure you're operating in the way that you should. The third E is engagement. You must be engaged and in tune with your teams that you're leading, because if you don't know who you're working with, you don't know who you're serving, how can you really be effective? And then the fourth E is excellence. Notice that when I say excellence, it's more about working consistently great. And we'll talk about my best definition for excellence at the end of this video. But I think it's important to know that when you're working in your role, don't strive for perfection. That's a trap. It's a mistake. There's so many things that can go wrong if you focus on being perfect all the time. Now, I understand firsthand that when you're working alone in HR, sometimes it seems that you have to be perfect because you're the only one. And when you're operating alone in HR, you're the only person in that role as an HR department of one. And so when you make a mistake, the company makes a mistake. When you make a mistake, the whole department makes mistakes. So there's a lot of pressure. And that's one of the traps that I fell into when navigating as an HR department of one early in my career, because I realized that, yes, I'm by myself. Yes, I have to always be on my P's and Q's, but I had to realize that that was not a sustainable way to go about doing things. I had to make sure I was really clear on what I wanted to accomplish and how I wanted to accomplish it, and also how I was measuring my own success. So we'll talk about that as well. So early in my career, I had the benefit of working with someone else. And I think that oftentimes when we find that we have support, we use it as a crutch. But when I found myself as an HR department of one, that crutch was gone. And I had to find ways to navigate that space on my own. So we'll talk about some things that I found that has worked for me, and also a tool I created to help me to stay on track. So we all know, just in general, that we can't be perfect. We know intellectually that perfection is a myth, is a trap. But we try it anyway. We try our best to be perfect. We try our best to do the right thing. And I think also it's best that we reframe it. We're not necessarily trying to be perfect, but we're trying to do everything right, mostly because we care about the work that we do. We know that the work that we do is impactful. We know the work that we do has high stakes. We know that the work that we do has a benefit and a trickle-down effect on other people. So we want to make sure that we're doing our best. And there's nothing wrong with doing your best. The issue comes when you make you doing your best your primary goal, and it turns into a hyper focus on perfection. And so again, the goal here is to be consistently great, to be excellent, not to be perfect. So I shared a little bit about this in my weekly email. If you're not already on my email list, make sure that you click down below to get in tune with that. But I'm going to go a little bit deeper in tonight's conversation. So grab your notebook if you don't already have something to write with. I want to make sure that we all are on the same page with grasping what we're going to cover tonight. So one of the things I realized about myself navigating in my career is that when I became an HR department of one, I found that some habits that I developed early in life and even in my younger adult life started to really rear its ugly head. So for me, I've always been a high achieving person, a high achieving student, a high achieving child. I have always been that way. I've been wired to be that way. And I started playing the piano in the 2nd grade. Well, I started playing piano at 5 years old. I started playing for other churches in my community, in my own church in the 2nd grade. And so to have done that at such a young age for such a long time, but did that well into my college years, playing at multiple churches. Now I play mostly in my own church. That's a separate conversation. But to say all that means I am used to doing a lot of things. I'm used to being creative. I'm used to being able to work hard to get what I want. Even when I had my first job at Kroger, for those of you who have ever worked in the grocery industry, I started as a courtesy clerk. So, a bagger, someone who just rolls the carts. Then I went to the cashier side. Then I went to the customer service side. Then I went to the accounting room. That's counting all the money for the entire store. That happened in less than 3 years. So I say all that to say I've never been a stranger to hard work. And I thought that as long as I was working hard, that I would be able to get what I wanted. And that mistake was what creeped up when I became an HR department of one, because I figured that if I just kept working hard, if I just outworked everyone, if I just worked all hours of the night and day, that it'll all work out. And I had to realize that when I was doing that, I was working myself too hard. And I realized that it was not a sustainable way to do it. Literally, I was working all night, getting up early, working through lunch, working through vacations. The tipping point for me was when I started to have kids, my husband and I. And when I started to have kids and I realized that, hey, I'm still working on maternity leave. Technically, I'm on maternity leave, but I'm still working with a newborn in my lap. I realized that, hey, Brittany, the way you're working is not sustainable. I had to find a better way to do things because I realized that you can't just keep working and working and working. At a certain point, you have to make sure you have systems in place so that even if you have to step away, even if you take a few weeks off, even if you have to break away for whatever reason, emergency or otherwise, you have a way to get back on track. And for me, I found that the way I was working was more of an overcompensation. I felt that I didn't know enough. I felt that I wasn't qualified. I felt that I shouldn't have even been in that role. And so because of that, it manifests itself in me working these late nights and me trying to work my way into the job. And while doing those things helped me to get to where I am, and I know that it helped me to get to where I am, it's not a sustainable way to do it, and it's a better way to do it, and that's what I help you to do. So tonight, we're talking about the 4 reasons why perfection is a trap and why you should strive for excellence instead. So again, grab your notebook if you don't have it already. If you are joining me live, put a comment in the chat. Let me know, how long have you been in HR? If you are aspiring to be in HR or you're very new, put a 0. But if you've been in HR for 2 years or 3 years or 90 days, put it in the chat for me. I'm really curious to know who I'm talking to, how I can serve you best. And also let me know, what has been your biggest challenge in your role? I'm really curious. So the 4 reasons why I believe that excellence is more important than perfection. The first reason is that you have an opportunity for more sustainable effort. Now, striving for excellence means that you are consistently putting in high quality work week over week, year over year, month after month. You're committing to do things on a high level consistently. And on the flip side of that, when you're trying to be perfect, you're looking for that short-term benefit. You're looking for that quick win when you're trying to be perfect at everything. You want to just do it necessarily without thinking about it. And that's not the best way to approach it. So when you take the pressure off of yourself to be perfect, you can put more focus on being consistently great. So I heard a quote a few weeks ago that it's not about being perfect. It's not even about being the best. It's really about being consistently above average. So I want you to think about it in your own workplace, in your own team, in your own family even. Think about your quality of work, your level of work, and then compare that to the work of others. You don't have to be perfect, but it's nothing wrong to strive for being consistently above average. If everyone around you is average, but you're consistently above average, it's going to really make you stand out and stand apart. So keep that in mind. Don't strive for perfection in this way. Try to be consistently above average. It's going to help you have a more sustainable effort. The second reason why you should strive for excellence and not perfection is that you have more room for growth. Now, when you're talking about perfection, we all know that perfection can paralyze us. Paralyzed perfection is a real thing because you get trapped in the emotions. You get trapped in wondering, okay, so how am I going to do this? Where do I start? Who do I talk to? Can I do this? And all these self-limiting beliefs that you have just rolling around in your head. Instead, I feel that perfection makes us afraid to take risks. Perfection makes us afraid to take challenges, to face challenges. So when we give ourselves room to grow, we understand that means we're going to make a mistake. But making a mistake just gives you a reason to learn from that lesson. So the mistakes that I've made in my HR career, I don't make them twice. I learn on purpose. I realized that sometimes you have to learn by accident. So I have this thing where so my team today, I'm no longer an HR department of one. I lead 7 others outside of myself, or soon to be 7 others outside of myself. But on the HR side, it's me and 2 others. And so I tell them sometimes you have to let people fail. And I think not in a bad way. And you don't want it to fail where it's going to be, it's going to be a harmful effect on others. But sometimes the lesson comes when you fail. And so give yourself room to fail. Give yourself room to learn from your own mistakes. I think also if you're only focused on what you can be perfect at, you miss out on the opportunity to learn and do new things. You miss out on those opportunities where you have to try a new thing, where you can really build a new skill and have more success in other areas. So consider that as well. The third reason why you should strive for excellence and not perfection is that it's going to give you an opportunity to reduce your stress. Now, we all know anxiety is real. Stress is real. Burnout is real. But if we are honest with ourselves, we have to realize that sometimes we create those issues for ourselves. How many times have you been stressed out and you realize that you're stressed out because you're stressing yourself out? No one is putting the pressure on you. You're putting the pressure on yourself. And I'm talking to Brittany. I'm talking to myself as well. Just today, I had to take off time from work because I had a migraine. And I feel like sometimes we get so worked up, so anxious, so stressed out that we start to manifest it physically. And so it's just not healthy. So again, I'm telling this to you just like I'm telling it to myself. Focusing on excellence and not perfection helps us with reducing stress, because we have to forget about the fact that a mistake is always looming somewhere nearby. If we accept the fact that we will again make mistakes, we will have different things to have to face, and we will have things that we have to accept. It's going to make it easier to get through them. And then the fourth reason why we should strive for excellence and not perfection is that it gives us an opportunity for increased productivity. So again, going back to that first point, we have a consistently high solution, consistently high effort. It helps us to have a reasonable pace. So again, if we're focusing on perfection is about the right now, but excellence is about the long term. If you are consistently above average, if you're consistently doing your best work and you're excellent, that's a long-term skill. That's a long-term growth goal. And for me, even on my job, I've realized one of the things that kind of puts me apart from the others on my team, this is not good or bad, but it's really something that I hold dearly to my heart, is that I find that I've learned to be more patient with myself, patient with others. And I seen that because I'm in it for the long haul. I'm not in it for the quick wins. I'm not in it for, the things that are going to be fleeting. I've seen people come and go. I've seen standards come and go. I've seen trends come and go. But one thing that I know I can hold on to is my own effort, my own level of excellence. And so that's what I want to impress upon you. When you're being consistently productive, consistently on pace, consistently excellent, it helps you to get out of that perfection trap. And oftentimes we have to realize that when we're trying to be perfect, that's our ego talking. And we have to really do a self-check and realize, like, hey, what is it about what's going on that makes me want to be perfect in this? What am I trying to compensate for? Just like I was early in my career when I was overcompensating, doing all those things that weren't really required, but I felt that they were. I was overcompensating. So I ask you, if you find yourself trying to be perfect at something, what are you trying to overcompensate for? How is your ego getting in the way? Why is your ego getting in the way? So these are things I also work with my clients on as I coach them. I'm also a certified executive coach in addition to an HR professional, but I help my clients to realize and shift their limiting beliefs to get back on track, to find ways to get to that next goal, to set that next goal and achieve that goal. So if you have found this video helpful, please make sure you leave a comment down below or like this video. I want to make sure that you have found value in it. And if there's any way I can serve you in the future, please feel free to let me know. One of the things that helped me to keep things in perspective, to keep things in check, to keep my day organized was my Thriving HR Planner. If you click the link down below, you'll learn more about that as well. But the Thriving HR Planner is a 12-month planner that I've created and made available to you in this community to help you to navigate your day better. I find that in my career, as I've grown again, I was an unpaid HR intern, then I'm paid in the HR department of one. Now I'm an executive leader, leading multiple departments and running this business as well. But I could not have done any of this successfully without making sure I had a plan and a tool around organizing my day. And like I said in the prior video, of course, you can go to CVS, you can go to Walgreens, you can go to Amazon and get a planner. But even most of the HR planners are not specifically geared toward an HR department of one, because in addition to all of the things that you go through, you focus on every week. You divide up your skills, your goals, your tasks, and it's separated by discipline. So what are you doing in staffing? What are you doing in employee relations? What are you doing in compensation management? All these things, so you can physically identify any gaps that you might have. So again, click the link down below to learn more about that planner. It's my highest recommendation. If you are an HR department of one and you do not have a thriving HR planner, you're missing out. And I want to make sure that you don't miss out. That's why I make it available to you at such an affordable price. It's really pennies a day. You really want to make sure that you get your hands on it so that you have a tool to help you to organize your next 12 months, and that your next 12 months will be your best 12 months. If you have any questions for me, please feel free to drop a comment down below. I'll circle back and answer them. And I hope this video has been helpful for you. If I can serve you at a higher level, never hesitate to reach out, and I'll talk to you in the very next video. Talk to you soon. Bye.